As the Indianapolis Colts sailed into Texas Stadium, Frank Kush looked like a man whose ship was on the verge of capsizing. The Colts rarely made headway against a strong Dallas Current and could muster only 82 passing yards, most of which came on this 44-yard reception by Randy McMillan, number 32. The number one rushing team in the AFC appeared to run a long way, but never got anywhere. And even when forced to improvise on special teams, they went down sinking fast. Dallas safety Bill Bates, number 40, intercepted this feeble pass attempt, accounting for 1 of 4 Colt turnovers. But it was Danny White, making his much ballyhooed first start of the season, who accounted for all the scoring Dallas needed to lay the Colts to rest. White riddled the Colts secondary for 2 touchdown passes, including this 38-yarder to Tony Hill as the Cowboys drowned Indianapolis 22-3. The Washington Redskins, surprisingly, are another team struggling to stay above water. At the Meadowlands, they were unexpectedly outperformed by their NFC East rivals, the New York Giants. Quarterback Phil Simms proved that when you're hot, while Joe Theismann was barely lukewarm thanks to Giant defenders such as number 71, Casey Merrill. Theismann spent much of his day eluding the New York defense, which burned and buried him as he was pursued from all sides with the same jarring results. While Lawrence Taylor, the NFC's leading sack specialist, is a heavyweight hitter, 5'9" Phil McConkey is a flyweight receiver who bobbed and weaved his way through the Redskins. But the real knockout artist in this game was Phil Simms, who completed 18 passes for 339 yards. By the time Washington scored their first touchdown in the final quarter, New York had already tallied 4, and Bob Johnson's 8-yard reception concluded a stunning 37-13 rout of the defending NFC champs. Looking to unseat the Redskins are the red-hot St. Louis Cardinals, who visited Veterans Stadium to take on Philadelphia. This battle of the birds featured 2 high-flying speedsters in Mike Quick and Roy Green. And it was the Eagles who struck quickly with the longest pass in the NFC this season. Quick waved goodbye to the Cardinal defenders and to the critics who said he wouldn't return to his all-pro form of 1983 with this 90-yard catch and carry. This catch simply couldn't carry the Eagles over the swarming defense of the powerful Big Red. The opportunistic Cardinals recorded 3 interceptions and 6 sacks, and also fizzled the Eagles' razzle-dazzle. After taking a 14-7 second quarter lead, Philadelphia turned self-destructive, while St. Louis became quite productive, racking up 27 unanswered points. Neil Lomax continued to master the skies, completing 20 of 26 passes for 286 yards, including this 8-yard TD strike to Pat Tillett. When Lomax found Roy Green, his favorite target, victimized by double coverage, he rerouted his passes toward the wide-open tight end, Doug Marsh. The Eagles just couldn't cut the Cards, who piled up 427 yards en route to a 34-14 thrashing. With a 4-game winning streak, St. Louis remains tied with Dallas atop the NFC East, much to the relief of a very sharp, very confident, very optimistic Neil Lomax. Normally, the only injury backup Gary Kubiak worries about on Sunday is a jammed finger in pregame. However, replacing the injured John Elway against the Raiders, Kubiak suddenly found himself in a life-threatening situation. Carrying a clipboard and wearing a headset during a game may not be very exciting, but it's a heck of a lot safer than carrying a football and wearing the Los Angeles Raider defense. While number 53, Rod Martin's sack for a safety hurt Kubiak's pride more than anything else, Raider quarterback Mark Wilson was out to do some real damage. Wilson's touchdown pass to Marcus Allen put Los Angeles ahead 9-0 in the first quarter. The Raiders seemed in good shape to avenge an earlier loss to Denver until Kubiak learned to keep himself out of the reach of the defense while keeping the football within the reach of the offense. The key to avoiding the wrath of the silver and black is staying on the move. So as long as the Broncos signal caller never allowed his heels to cool down, his arms stayed red hot. Kubiak's early fourth quarter touchdown toss to Clarence Kay tightened the score to 19-12. Then with only 24 seconds remaining in regulation, number 8 sent the game into overtime. Number 81, Steve Watson's suction cup hands are no doubt the result of practicing against a defense that could pry a bottle away from a wino. This fumble recovery by number 43, Steve Foley, stalled one LA drive in the overtime period. Minutes later, another Raider turnover helped set up the game-winning field goal. Rich Carlos's 35-yard kick with no time on the clock lifted the Broncos to a 22-19 win. With an 8-1 record, Denver now stands all alone atop the tough AFC West, one game ahead of the Raiders. While 7 consecutive wins have the Broncos eagerly anticipating the upcoming weeks, the only thing Houston's Warren Moon is looking forward to this fall is a November birthday. However, if he doesn't get better protection from his offensive line, he may not live to enjoy it. Aging gracefully in the NFL is tough, but the Bengals' Ken Anderson, number 14, is the resident expert. The 35-year-old quarterback hooked up on this play with Larry Kinnebrew, number 28, who scored 4 touchdowns in Cincinnati's 31-13 win. While the victory kept the Bengals excited about their postseason chances, no one is more thrilled about their team's playoff possibilities than the Kansas City Chief faithful. Bill Kenny, back in the starting lineup for the second week, passed the Chiefs to a 14-7 third quarter lead over the Bucs. On an afternoon when both quarterbacks combined to throw an NFL record 100 passes, Kenny bettered the competition, completing 24 of 46 for over 300 yards and 2 scores. Henry Marshall's fourth quarter grab helped lift Kansas City to a 24-20 win. While the Chiefs have impressed a lot of people with their 5-4 record, last Sunday the 1-7 Browns wanted to impress only one person, their new head coach, Marty Schottenheimer. Unfortunately for Cleveland, the defense did not exactly play inspired football, despite its number 1 ranking against the pass. The offense, on the other hand, proved that even the league's lowest scoring offense can muster an occasional big play. Number 82, Ozzie Newsome's circus catch put Cleveland ahead 14-10. However, Ozzie was upstaged by the aerial acrobatics of Tyrone Young, number 89. Young's grab set up a field goal to close the score to 14-13. Then minutes later, with no time remaining, Morton Anderson attempted the game winner. Anderson's 53-yard kick in a driving rain gave the Saints a 16-14 win. and made the Browns' new head coach's debut a total washout. So far this season, the Green Bay Packers have been simply going through the motions, not at all responding to head coach Forrest Gregg's hard-nosed approach. But last Sunday against the Lions, they finally put together the kind of all-out 60-minute effort that was commonplace in Green Bay during the days when Gregg starred as a Packer player. Right from the start, Green Bay's defense kept Detroit's offense pinned to the ground. And throughout the day, the Lions were denied every possible access into the end zone. The much-maligned Packer defense limited Detroit to just 3 field goals in a bravura performance that even had the referees doffing their caps. With the Packer offense freed from playing its usual game of come from behind, Lynn Dickey was free to pull out all the stops. Green Bay is loaded with an assortment of talented receivers, so Detroit had to be a little surprised when guard Blake Moore, number 60, snuck into the end zone as a tight end to snare this touchdown pass. Moore's score gave the Packers a 28-9 halftime lead, and Dickey was able to put the game away for good in the third quarter when he spotted James Lofton, one of his more familiar targets, for Dickey's 4th touchdown pass of the game. The Packers prevailed 41-9 as they ended their 7-game losing streak with their 2nd victory of the season. In Pittsburgh, Steeler fans were waving their lucky towels, hoping to cast a hex over the visiting Falcons. And from the terrible chain of events that led to Atlanta's downfall, one would say there was indeed an air of black magic filtering through Three Rivers Stadium. This Dwayne Woodruff fumble recovery and subsequent touchdown came on Atlanta's first play from scrimmage, giving the Steelers a quick 7-0 lead. Fumbling a football and having it returned for a score, well, that can be termed unlucky. But when a well-executed opposite field screen pass is sabotaged by one of your own teammates, well, then it's apparent that some strange forces are at work. The Falcons, though, seemed unfazed by their run of misfortune, and in the second quarter, a tied score appeared imminent when Steve Bartkowski hit wide receiver Stacey Bailey squarely on the numbers with this perfectly thrown pass. Oh, well, by this time, Atlanta knew it was not to be their day, because like Bartkowski, Pittsburgh quarterback Mark Malone was throwing accurately. But unlike Bartkowski, Malone had the services of receivers who could catch. In his 11th season with the Steelers, number 82, John Stallworth, is as sure-handed and reliable as ever. And his 2 touchdown receptions were all the scoring Pittsburgh needed, as the Steelers routed the luckless Falcons 35-10. While Pittsburgh's encounter with Atlanta may have been a bit bizarre, it did not compare to the ghastly game that was played in Chicago. Or if Minnesota did stand only a ghost of a chance, it was because the Bears reduced Archie Manning to a shadow of his former self. Defense sacked Manning a club record 11 times, a number that was just one off the all-time NFL record. Before Archie's day was done, Chicago built up a 16-0 lead and left the veteran quarterback kneeling on the ground, where he was probably praying for the lifelong opportunity to play with a winner. Well, only time will tell if Archie's prayers will be answered. Ironically, it was only when Manning departed that Minnesota's offense finally hit its stride. Wade Wilson's final-minute touchdown pass to Leo Lewis, number 87, could not scare off the Bears, who held on to a 16-7 victory. Minnesota's fifth straight loss dropped the Vikings back to a 2-7 record, while the Bears improved their mark to 6-3. With Chicago holding a 3-game lead in the NFC Central, it appears that their rivals have only a ghost of a chance of overtaking them. That has to make head coach Mike Ditka feel very secure. Last weekend at Anaheim, 49ers head coach Bill Walsh looked like he was recalling a few of the contents of truly tasteless jokes. Although Walsh never laughed so hard that he ate, his defense rushed Los Angeles quarterback Jeff Kemp so hard that he ate. With 5 sacks, 3 fumble recoveries, and 2 interceptions, San Francisco dealt the Rams their first shutout since 1981. While the 49er defense was keeping points off the scoreboard, their offense was putting points on the scoreboard at a dizzying pace. Number 33, Roger Craig's 64-yard reception was the first of 2 touchdown passes thrown by Joe Montana within a 2-minute stretch. Montana totaled 365 yards passing and produced a 3rd scoring strike when he connected with number 87, Dwight Clark, in the 4th period. The 49ers upped their record to a conference best 8-1 as they administered a 33-0 whipping to the Rams in an NFC West matchup that was supposed to be a grim contest, but wound up being a real laugher. For the Buffalo Bills, the chuckles have been few and far between this season, but sacks and turnovers have been a frequent occurrence. The Bills were sacked 5 times and parted with the football 4 times in Miami. But in their behalf, it should be noted that the quick reactions of defenders like linebacker Bob Brudzinski, number 59, contributed to the Bills' turnover total. The Dolphins' defense performed well enough to make headlines, but this was yet another Sunday that the name Dan Marino would appear in bold-face type, with exclamation marks next to it. In 1984, Marino throwing for a trio scoring passes in a single game has become as much of a Sunday tradition as lox and bagels for brunch or fried chicken dinner at Granny's place. You can also be certain that someone named Mark will catch at least one of Marino's touchdown throws. In this game, someone named Mark was Mark Clayton, number 83, who reached the end zone twice as the Dolphins registered a 38-7 victory that left them a perfect 9-0, and the Bills an imperfect 0-9. While Miami is well in command of the AFC East lead, second place was at stake in Foxborough, where newly installed Patriots head coach Raymond Berry prepared to test his considerable football knowledge against the New York Jets. But when this game began, it was the visitors who seemed to have all the right answers. Number 24, Freeman McNeil's 53-yard run set up the Jets' first touchdown, a 2-yard pass to tight end Rocky Cleaver from Ken O'Brien, who had replaced shaken-up starter Pat Ryan. New York mounted a 20-6 halftime lead, but the Patriots always seem to get started when their chances appear to be finished. After the intermission, New England began another comeback caper, this time behind the running of Craig James, number 32. Last year, James was a highly publicized USFL draftee. This season, he has scarcely merited a footnote in the Patriots' game plan. But with 79 yards on 10 carries against the Jets, James was a major factor in a second-half Patriots resurgence that was also keyed by Tony Eason, number 11. Eason unscrambled the ferocious Jets pass rush with his knack for throwing on the run and by revealing an occasionally unorthodox passing touch. The Patriots continually came up with plays that seemed to have come from a Hollywood script rather than a Patriot playbook. After officials negated this apparent touchdown by ruling that Eason had been in the grasp of a Jets defender, the unfazed quarterback found number 81, Stephen Starring, for a fourth quarter score that gave New England the lead for keeps. The Patriots moved into a second-place tie with the Jets in the AFC East with a 30-20 win that was their fifth come-from-behind victory of the season. As for Tony Eason, he has made so many deficits disappear into thin air that New England fans can be excused for believing that he possesses a magic touch.